Hello, everybody. It is Matt, and it is Bloodthirsty Thursday, and I am back at you with yet another review. Before I roll on to any of that, I want to wish each and every one of you a great morning, evening, dawn, day, or dusk, all that lovely stuff, because life is too short as is. Do me a really huge favor and like, share, and subscribe. I love seeing your beautiful faces when I am here. I know I'm here an awful lot, but please forgive me. I have an awful lot on my plate to review. Not as much as I have in the past few months, but I still have quite a few. I'm going to be doing basically a review every other day right now until I get caught up, and then we'll go from there. Either way, I have plenty of content for you guys to come this month to keep you happy, and there is a lot of stuff that I am very excited to review. And one last little tidbit of information, check out the description box. I gave you the brief synopsis, which I did not write today's synopsis. That was written by the director himself. I figured what better way to describe the movie with a synopsis from the director himself, because it really describes this film perfectly, in my opinion. I gave you your starring cast, your director, your runtime of the cut I am watching, along with a link for a trailer. I believe I got a link in there for that. I forgot to double check before I filmed. But there should be one in there. And then a link if you decide you can help support Matt's Movie Mania and toss me a couple of dollars. If you do, I greatly appreciate that. Now, with all that said in mind and all that out of the way, let's roll on to the film of the day. And today's film is a really, really interesting one. It's very bizarre, full of extreme visuals that will leave your mind racing even after you're done watching it. I literally just finished watching it maybe 20-30 minutes ago, and I am still thinking about it, not only for today's review, but for the aspect that it really just made me think a lot about the movie in general. And it is the 2023 film, this is a film, this is not a movie. This is the 2023 film known as Dariuss, with two S's on the end, just to let you know. If you IMDb it or Google it or whatever you do, that's Dariuss, Dariuss. Dariuss, yes. Very interesting film. It is directed by none other than Guerrilla, Metropolitana. I'm sorry, Guerrilla, if I murdered your last name. I practiced it several times, and I just had a feeling I would stumble over it once I got to it. You did a fantastic job with this film. It is art house cinema to its finest. I feel like I'm being spoiled this new year. I've done two. This will be my second review, and I've got to watch two things that were both beautifully shot in a row. Starting with Mondo Siam by Renee Weissner, amazing film, and now Dariuss, directed by Guerrilla Metropolitana. What a interesting, mind-bending, mind-boggling kind of film. What is it about? Well, it is about a family who has lost a child, and essentially it is all of them going through their different ways of grieving through this loss. It is very heartbreaking in places, very sickening in places, very erotic in places. It gets very, very, very erotic. It blends the eroticism and the horror very flawlessly, in my opinion. They meld together very well in the way he delivers the story on this. It is done in a capacity that is not only very coherent, because you understand what is going on. Granted, you have to pay attention. If you do not pay attention to this movie, you're going to be lost. But it is very coherent. It tells a very harrowing story, in my opinion. I can't imagine what it would be like to lose a child, and then coping with that afterwards. There's very strange things that happen. Like, there's a pregnant woman that is collecting her breast milk. And later on, Dariuss, our villain, our man of the hour, played by Guerrilla, none other, is drinking some of the breast milk, and then eventually the husband comes home and tops it off and finishes it, what Dariuss doesn't drink, which Dariuss has already gone through and murdered the grandmother and the wife of in the house. He's already done both of them, and in very gruesome fashion. I'm not going to tell you exactly how he does the deeds. I want you to watch this. The good news is this is getting a release here, U.S. stateside, but none other by SRS Cinema. It'll be sometimes here in 2024. I imagine it'll be here in the near future, being that Guerrilla is already hopping around the circuit trying to get reviews for it, to hype up the release for it. So I would look for it here within the next few months. I would imagine it's coming out, hopefully. I know it's not this month because I've already seen the SRS lineup for this month and it wasn't listed on it. But either way, in the future from SRS Cinema, definitely pick up Dariuss. It's just a awe-inspiring type of film. It makes you want to pick up a camera and make something. Granted, Guerrilla went through an awful lot through making this. I read on a very brilliant article that he went through various stages of mental breakdown. He went through 3 of them in total. And the third and final one was the worst out of all of them. But he was able to pull himself together and finish the film. It took him an entire year to edit this thing together. You can tell that this is a passion piece from beginning to end. It has lots of very masterful editing techniques going on in it. Both him and Archibald Kane did a fantastic job of editing this together. There's just things that are hard to explain about this film, because this is one of those, I feel like you need to watch it multiple times to really understand what is going on and how to really get a better vibe, a better feel, how to really break down that story. And it's very interesting. Now, as far as the three things go that I love my movies to meet, audio is very, very interesting in this. It is, there's really no dialogue there at the very end. There's I believe it's who is Dariuss, said backwards. It sounded like it was backmasking. But it did say across the screen, really in a flash, who is Dariuss, and it said it one other time. So there's no dialogue, just to let you know. So it's not going to get a score on dialogue, but audio, it's going to get a score of an A+, because it's got a lot of interesting things going on audio wise. You are constantly bombarded with different noises, from things breaking to a constant drip of a water faucet in the background, which eventually you do tune out. The first like 30 minutes, I'm like, holy crap, that is just really, it really just gets into your brain. But then eventually it's like another character in the film. You just eventually start to accept it for what it is, and you go along for the ride. So now on to editing. Editing on this thing is so beautifully done, in my opinion. I think it is the crown jewel of this film. Being not only that it took a full year for Guerrilla and Archibald to edit this thing together. It really has a certain sense of love and passion that only somebody who appreciates good editing would really like about it. It's very smooth, very crisp. It doesn't feel like there's weird like cuts that don't need to make sense. I mean, it is chock full of interesting cuts and edits and jumps and just very interesting and bizarre imagery going on with the editing, but it is done so well that you not only do you embrace it, but you give it a great big hug, and you tell it, you're like, hey, I love what you're doing. Please do this again. You're doing a fantastic job. You are a master at editing. I think that is, like I said, the crown jewel of this film, as far as technique wise goes. I want to add one. I'm going to give it an A++ on that editing, just to let you know. And I want to add one extra thing. Cinematography is so beautiful and done so interesting that I keep saying the word interesting because that's just the only way to really describe it. It is done so beautifully that it just really captures your attention, and you cannot do anything but keep your eyes on the screen. So I'm going to give it an extra added A+ on that. So on to the 1 through 5 score, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. It is not quite a 5 out of 5. It runs at an hour long, which I feel is like the perfect time for it. I think if I were to watch it another 2 or 3 times and then rescore it, maybe it might hit that 5. But for me, on a first viewing, on everything, on all the knowledge that I know about Guerrilla and what he went through just to get this out there, it's not quite 5 material for me, but it is a almost there. I'm gonna say 4.5 out of 5. Like it's really just a really well shot film. You know, you can't go wrong with this art house flick. I highly recommend it. Go out and check out Dariuss whenever you get a chance to. When it does drop, it will blow your socks off. I suggest buying it so that way you can watch it multiple times, like I'm saying, so you can really get the full feel of the film. So that way you know exactly what you have in your hands, because it's not just gritty, grimy, extreme art house cinema. There's so many layers to this. There's just so much more to it than just a one and done viewing, in my opinion. This is something that you need to own and watch multiple times. So when SRS does release this, I will be buying a copy of it, because I want to watch this multiple times, because I want that extra added pleasure of the view of the film. Alright guys, I love your faces. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. I'll be here Saturday with another review. It's an Aussie flick, I believe, is where the next one comes out of. Or at least filmed in Australia. It's filmed in Australia, but in German. Something like that. But either way, I will be back at you with another slobber knocker on Saturday, and on Monday I'll be back as well. So every other day I will be doing a review for you guys. Alright guys, love your faces, and as always, peace. And